Hey folks, today we're going to do an informal test on drawing the sidearm both from a condition 1 type situation, so loaded round in the chamber, and condition 3, loaded magazine but no round in the chamber. We're going to look at that on a full-size handgun and then on a much smaller gun, the type of gun that many people might carry from a concealment standpoint. I'm doing these drills from open concealment, so obviously if I had a cover garment or if I was doing this from, say, an inside the waistband holster, it would slow down the times a little bit. But you'll see that from a presenting the weapon standpoint, when we're doing it and we do not have a round in the chamber, we're going to be doing that, we'll be racking the slide, presenting the weapon, and then pressing a shot. So we'll be looking at that from the timer standpoint. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that 3 times with a charged gun. And we're just going to look at that. I'll show you the timer each time. And then we're going to do the same thing from a gun with an unloaded chamber. So I'll rack the slide and then present the weapon, press the shot. And then we'll do it one-handed, because that's where it starts to get a little different. And then finally we'll look at that with a small handgun, a Car PM9 pistol, which is really small, and many people think when they're carrying it in condition 3, well, I'll have no problem, I'll just rack the slide and present the weapon and be good to go in a fear or threat situation. The reality is you might not have that ability because you may be fending off the attacker with your other hand, so you're going to have to rack the slide here, and it's a little bit more of a challenge with a smaller size auto-loading pistol. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, 1.25, I'll show you. 1.26 from holster. 1.34. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the gun, and I'm going to start in a condition 3, so loaded magazine, nothing up the pipe. .84. 1.69. 1.80. So from that standpoint, we didn't see a significant difference, really a half a second difference in presenting the weapon. Now we're going to do the same drill, but we're actually going to do this with one-handed. So I'm going to present the weapon 3 times one-handed with a round chambered, so condition 1. Then we'll do the same drill that you just saw me do, but this time I'm going to be racking the slide as I present the weapon against my belt holster. So we'll take a look at that. .81. 1.79. 1.80. So all of those, it's basically the same amount of time on each of those strings. .78. A little faster, 2.70. And that last one, 2.37. So you can see from a time standpoint, as I do this drill a little bit more, I'm getting a little more comfortable with having to rack the slide one-handed. Keep in mind, no one's shooting at me. I'm not moving to cover. I have no one grabbing my left arm, raining blows into my face, or stabbing at me with a knife as I'm trying to do that. So again, this is a non-stressed environment where I'm able to get good combat effective hits while doing the process one-handed. However, I think what you're going to see as we move to the car, a much smaller handgun, not a full-size handgun, with an inside the waistband holster, it might slow down a little bit. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. Okay, so now we're moving to the Car PM9, and you can see I've got a inside the waistband holster, fairly deep concealment. When you have a cover garment, it's pretty hard to see this gun. So right now, gun's in condition 1. I have a round chamber. We're going to do the same drill. So 3 presentations with a chambered gun, a chambered round in the gun, and we'll see what that looks like. Now, keep in mind, I've got a much smaller gun. I've got a double action only trigger, and it's coming from a very deep concealment against my body. So we see already a big difference in the presentation of the weapon from a time standpoint. So 2.29 there, and we'll do it again. Okay. Okay, that was my best one, and I think it was my best one because as soon as I got out and I was on target, I was pressing through the shot. So that was 1.98. Okay, so I'm going to do the same drill now, and I'm going to do it two-handed, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to rack the round into the chamber because I will be shooting this in a condition 3 setup on the firearm. Okay, so we've got our gun here, and we're going to go from condition 3, so no round in the chamber, present the weapon and cycle the round. .3. Okay. In that case, that was actually my best string, 2.59. So not bad. And what I've found doing these drills is as long as you've got the gun, and you've got use of your other hand to rack the slide, you know, you can get good at this, but you really got to practice. So it's a very viable option for carry, and it's certainly something that has a ton of merit from a safety and liability standpoint, but you want to practice and just be aware of all the pros and cons associated. So here we go again, presentation with the gun set up in condition 3. Not bad. Not bad, 2.58. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do presentation drills now one-handed. So we'll do the same thing we did before. We'll shoot several shots, do 3 presentations with a fully charged gun, so condition 1. And then we'll do the same thing where we have to rack the slide to chamber around, so condition 3, but we're going to do this one-handed. And this is significantly different than a full-size gun when you're using a small auto-loading pistol because, first of all, the length of the slide is much shorter, which generally means a tighter spring, which has more resistance. Secondly, the amount of area to get a good purchase on against a straight surface up here can be more difficult, and many new autoloaders have low profile, low snag rear sights. Many of them are actually angled, which is great because they don't hang up, but when you're doing a drill where you're trying to cycle the gun against your body, or against some rigid surface, it can be very difficult. One-handed presentation, condition 3, car hand 9. That was 3.14, so not bad. That was 3.62. Condition 1. And that was a pretty good one. That was 2.37. So I think you're seeing a time difference of about a second from what we would see if we only had the gun. So that was the last one. Take a look at our target here. Basically, I've got all good hits. I have 1 or 2 that are just outside. I don't consider that significant. The point here is really just to demonstrate that this nothing up the pipe carry system will work very effectively. It's just one that has to be practiced. Now, the last kind of thing that I want to show you, and I'm actually going to do this with a dummy gun just so you can get some sense of this, is one of the challenges that you might face if the attacker's right on you. Okay, so we just did a series of presentations where we were at 4 or 5 yards from the target. I was able to bring the gun up, charge the gun, present the weapon from condition 3, or if I had condition 3 in only one hand, let's say I was fighting with this person, they were wrapping my arm up, then we've got a different situation, because if I'm in condition 3, I can't do this type of thing because I've got to charge my gun. So I've got someone on top of me grabbing me, right, and I'm fighting back, and maybe the person's going after my gun. The gun is not charged at this point. I've got to bring the gun out of the holster, charge it, and then bring it into play. Versus if he's got me here, all I have to do is bring the gun up, being aware of where my hand is, right? I'm fighting with this person. And I would generally encourage firing down into this pelvic region here. But it's easier to do if I don't have to charge the gun, right? I just get on the trigger, press the shot. If I don't have a charged gun though, I've got to do this while engaging this target, right? Person's all over me, they're jumping, they're pressing, and I've got to get this gun charged and then put it in the game. I'm not saying that's a deal breaker, and I'm not saying it can't be done. What I would recommend that you do is, try it with a blue gun and see what happens. And try it up close with a live gun to see what that looks like. I've done that. I have some experience doing that. I'm not going to show it to you because you have not signed a liability release for me. But that is, I recommend that you get some training if you're going to do this, and really look at contact type of situations where you've really got to manipulate the gun right here. And if you're carrying condition 3, keep in mind, if we're close on top of each other and I'm fighting and I'm trying to keep my gun, I've got to somehow get the gun charged. I can't bring this hand back to charge the gun probably because I'm wrapped up here, or I'm maybe trying to protect my head and face. And this, of course, assumes that I couldn't get away. My number one priority, if somebody's approaching me and I got a bad feeling, is get out of there, right? Why engage someone? Wants my car, wants my wallet. My position is he can have it. So the bottom line for me is whether you carry condition 1 or condition 3, both are viable options. Both have advantages and disadvantages. I would highly recommend that you do your research, get some good training. There are a number of different people that can provide that. And really think about how and when you would be in a situation where you would want to present your weapon. Finally, think very, very carefully about the type of gun you're carrying. Often these tests are done with full-size handguns, and people say there's not that much of a difference. I don't own a small .380, but we saw the Car PM9 and what a short slide that had, so when it comes to manipulating the gun, less to grab onto in a stressful situation. If you went to, say, one of the Ruger 380s or the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 3, you have much less space to do it. So now you're racking that slide, hopefully getting enough purchase to chamber around. The bottom line is you want to practice this. Get the confidence and experience working with someone who really knows what they're doing, and also can make sure that sort of they're your safety coach. So hopefully this brief unscientific presentation gave you a sense of options for carrying your weapon, Condition 1 or Condition 3, and whatever works best for you and is safe for you and those around you is really the way to go. Hope this helped. Best of luck, and as always, stay safe.